All right.
Hello.
Hey, we're All Things Beer. This is All Things Beer 510, and today I'm interviewing my man Ron. Big shout out to Admiral Maltings. I'm in the Rake right now in Alameda, California. Super excited about interviewing you and getting to find out more about malt, more about this place, because this is phenomenal. I just did a tour and I've never seen anything like this ever. We're just gonna get things started. My man Ron, how did this come to be? Like you, Dave, Curtis, a Malthouse, right?
Right. Well, you're sort of right there in that you've never been to a place like this, because to my knowledge, I think we're the only place in the world that has a pub or a tasting room that looks out onto the malt floor where malt is actually made. And so, probably most people know, but maybe not everyone, that you can't just take beer and make it from barley. There's an intermediary step that needs to be done to the barley. The barley has to be processed a little bit so that we can make beer from it, and that processing is called malting. And we simply take the barley, we soak it in water to wake it up, we sprout it on the floor to get all sorts of enzymatic reactions going on to start breaking down the protein in the cell walls and start pitting the starch granules, getting them ready for the brewer or the distiller to make use of them, because we want to make those sugars that are potentially available in the barley seed but don't become actually available until it starts growing. We want to make those available to the brewer or the maltsters for the yeast to eat those sugars, to ferment it into alcohol and CO2. So malt is critical. No malt, no beer. No barley, no beer, but you got to malt your barley to make beer.
Yeah, I mean, everything today is so hop driven, right? I mean, from the novice to just the average person just drinking craft beer. Oh, hops, this, citra, this, that. But like you said, if there's no malt,
no beer, yeah.
No beer. I mean,
it's like I had a brewer. I wish I remembered who, because I'm telling this story all the time now. But I had a brewer come and visit us, and they were just like, I can't believe I've never been to a malt house before. That's as if a winemaker said, I've never seen a vineyard. And it's exactly the same thing. I mean, malting is so critical to the brewing process, and yet most brewers have not been to a malting facility. They've been hard to find, actually. We're the first one in California. It's not that we're the only malting, or floor malting facility in the world. I just was talking about as far as having a pub, looking into it. That's unusual. And we have 20 different beers here and two cask conditioned beers that are all made with our malt. So that when you come in, you just try all these different beers made with that. But I met, I was very interested in the idea of making malt basically since about 2010, when an organic farmer had proven the concept that malting quality barley indeed grows very, very well in the Sacramento Valley. It's a drought-tolerant crop. It needs about 18 inches of rain a year. That's about exactly what falls in the Sacramento Valley. You don't need to irrigate it. It's not like the almonds or the rice or peaches, for that matter, or walnuts. You don't need a lot of water to grow it. It can be just on the rainfall, so it's an ideally suited crop. It historically was grown here. Historically, there were malting facilities in San Francisco and Oakland, both attached to breweries and independent ones. The last one to close in San Francisco was Bauer and Schweitzer in about 1981, and both Anchor and Sierra had originally gotten their malt from there a long time ago. So it's really what we're doing here is simply reintroducing something that historically was here. There is another malting facility. So we're technically the first malting facility to open probably since Prohibition, the new one
in California.
In California. But there is a malting facility that malts rice. So it's a gluten-free type of thing that opened in Chico, California. So they're here first, but they do just gluten-free only rice. They malt rice, and so we're malting barley for all sorts of breweries in the Bay Area.
And
and outside. From
and
San Diego and LA. Or
I know. I believe Pizza Port.
Yeah, they got some.
They got some malt. I know
Pure Project.
Been there. It's a great spot. A lot of just Lagunitas I see is there.
Lagunitas, just got. But we, Yeah, I mean, from some of the first batches were, like Cellar Maker, Russian River, Drake, Sierra, Magnolia, Thirsty Bear, Faction, Almanac, but then, many, especially a lot of smaller breweries too, Armistice, Harmonic, Social Kitchen, Iron Springs. I could go on and on. Just so many smaller breweries are using it too. Alameda Island right here. But yeah, so people are discovering what it's like to use and taste a local malting quality barley that's malted here. One of the things that beside the idea of getting it local, of getting the terroirs, it's fresh, unlike any malt anyone does. You go into a truck, when you load up your truck, you go into the malt room. When it's in the malt room, you smell the mash after it's been milled and it's in the mash. It's unbelievable, very, very, very different aroma, much more pungent and yummy, just this fresh bread, sort of the difference between getting day-old bread at a bakery versus something that just came out of the oven.
And I was here the other night at the Rake, because Admiral Maltings is the Malthouse and where all the magic happens, but the Rake is a tap room with 20 different beers, I believe.
Yeah, we have 20 different beers on tap, 2 cask conditioned ales.
And and so the 20 different beers from all breweries, local breweries and outside, who use your malt, so you can come here and try great local beer in the Bay Area. And then also they do have some food offerings as well.
Yeah, we have a little pub, very top quality pub stuff. Charcuteries, cheeses, Reuben sandwiches, pretzels, peanuts that are spiced with garlic and rosemary, and just really good stuff. So we're trying to take the best quality things we can that are available locally and just putting it together in a very simple, straightforward way. We don't have fryers and saute and hoods and this sort of thing. We're just want to give people some good solid pub fare to drink with it, to eat with their with their beer.
And also, if you can talk about, was it always going to be just the Malthouse, or how did the Rake develop? Was it going to be that at the the very beginning, or?
Yeah, I come from a background where, because of Thirsty Bear Organic Brewery, we have a full-on restaurant there, and we have a brewery. And when back in the day, over 21 years ago, when I opened Thirsty Bear, that was sort of a choice. You could either distribute or have a brew pub, or in our case, brewery restaurant. We really took the food seriously. And so it always made sense to me that if you're going to do urban production and a centralized location, why not offer examples of the product you're making? And so here we're making malt. Why not offer beer made with our malt? It made a lot of sense. We're in an urban location, could be an incredible educational opportunity. And so that's just what we did. We carved out less than 10% of the total square footage, and we have that available as a pub. And my one business partner, Curtis, had done small-scale malting in Southern California, in the Santa Barbara area. He got into it as a farmer, looking for a crop that didn't need so much irrigation as some of the fruit trees he originally was working with. And he had done some organic farming right out of college. He was a biology major, just brilliant guy. And he did some small-scale malting. Then when he was going to move up to the Bay Area, we met we had already been in contact through UC Davis, the barley program there. We'd both been to barley field days there. We'd both been to the first inaugural meeting in Colorado of the Craft Maltsters Guild, which is a national organization of small batch maltsters, just like we are. There's probably about 50 plus, just right around 50 that are operating now on at least according to the count at the Craft Maltsters Guild, and I'm sure there's at least 100 in planning or going on right now. Although we're the first one in California, it is a nationwide movement. And then Dave has just always been interested in malt as a backbone component, a flavor component to be explored and celebrated in beer. We both are really interested in English style ales that do the cask condition.
Love those, yeah.
Focus really on the subtle fresh malt characters, the Maris Otters, et cetera, the Golden Promises. So he's always had that interest and is such a pioneer and veteran leader in the industry that he seemed like, and we worked together a lot in the San Francisco Brewers Guild, so it seemed like a natural, both having a similar interest, both having studied with Dr. Lewis at UC Davis, and we talked with him about it. It just seemed the timing worked out for us to get involved together.
And why Alameda? I moved out to the area in Oakland not too long ago, and when I first moved out here, it was Faction had arrived maybe a year before, and then Alameda Island after that. But now, like I said, you guys and Almanac, which is right next door. There's some good craft beer shops. And stuff. My man Dan and Russ at Craft Beer and Wine.
Yeah.
So a lot of craft beer
Russ
in this on this little island. What made you come out here and start the Admiral Maltings, the Rake here on the naval base too?
Well, I live here, so I just wanted to work close to home. But aside from that, because I live here, I knew the potential for an undeveloped naval base where they were looking for some structured way to grow it. And meanwhile, organically, it's been growing the pioneers really were St. George Spirits, Rockwall Winery, and then you have Building 43 Winery. St. George sold off one of its brands, Hangar 1, and so now there's the Hangar 1 distillery, and then you have, there's Oakland Urban Cellars, another winery that's going in down there. You have Building 43, Rockwall, you got those two distilleries, Faction, and then, when I was shown this building here, and I knew the potential developer to make him more interested in developing, I go, hey, what if I fill up the building? So I gave Jesse a call, perfect timing, right when he decided to look for an actual facility. I knew he was contract brewing at the time and possibly looking for a facility, so I talked to them and actually Headlands. And Headlands was interested, but just it was further down the road before they were going to create their own facility, which they're actually working on now.
Okay.
So anyhow, Jesse jumped on it, and it's a great match. They already get some of our malt, and they're incredible, sophisticated, interesting, just experimental is what I want. Just bringing from the farm to the barrel, and their sour beers, and just the way they approach the craft of brewing is pretty solid, right, with our ethos. So of recognizing, what farm did it come from, where did it come from, that sort of thing.
And that's really cool, because like a lot of beer nerds and beer geeks, we don't know a lot about sometimes malt or yeast, or we only care about this or that. But it's good to have you guys here and show people something different, educate them on something different. I think you guys are doing tours for Beer Week, so so it's just always good to be educated, because to be honest with you guys, I drink beer. I'm not I do not know nothing compared to a lot of people, so I'm always trying to just learn more for the future. So it's great what you guys are doing here, because it's really good.
The Rake, the pub here, is that educational opportunity to try 20 different beers. From Alvarado Street Brewing Company or Drake's or whoever, and you're having you can really see how different breweries will use malt differently or how the same malt can taste so differently in a variety of things. So it is an educational opportunity here at the pub that we're highlighting, and we're going to follow that through. I'm going to do Meet the Maltsters actually with Alameda Island Brewing Company, where I'm going to go down there. It'll be Saturday, I think it's the 16th, Saturday's the 16th. It's the Saturday a week plus following the opening gala, and and then we're doing open Malthouse Day here, where we're giving tours of the malting facility. There'll be other farmers. There'll be the guy who developed an experimental variety of yeast that we're using. He's going to be here. We're going to have some other brewers here, and then we have our whole Maltster team. We're going to give a tour of the Malthouse. We're going to do a tasting of a few beers after. It's kind of already sold out. We're not charging for it, but I thought, if I do 3 tours of 15, that's 45. That'll be enough, and it went bam. Yeah. So we just doubled it, and so we'll I guess it'll be about 6 different tours of groups of 15, just back to back, every 15 minutes type thing.
Wow.
A little tasting. We're doing a Meet the Maltsters with Harmonic Brewing Company, and that's on the same day as Cerwissa, another a sort of a charitable home brewing organization, and they're both having, I think, on Thursday. I have to double check the date to that Thursday.
Beer week is crazy.
Yeah. And then, but that's the Thursday after the gala. I'll just put it like that. And then there's also on the Monday after the gala is Oak Barrel and Marin Brewing Company.
Okay.
So we'll have a Meet the Maltsters over at Oak Barrel where you can actually buy our Malta homebrew there and stuff. Oak Barrel's a homebrew supply store. And then Marin Brewing Company, Arnie's doing a release of some of our the beer that we made over there. So so lots going on. Several Meet the Maltsters events with Alameda Island, Harmonic, Marin, Oak Barrel, and then here. That's more than enough for us in our first one. And that doesn't even get to all the collaboration beers that were made with Admiral. I mean, the San Francisco Brewers Guild collaboration beer uses our malt. There's about 10 major collaboration beer, 5 neighborhoods, 5 Bay Area collaboration beers, and all of them but 2 are using our malt. One of them's not, and then the other kind of may, because it's a homebrew type thing, and most of the home brewers are using our malt. So if the home brewer wins the competition, then they'll be brewing with our malt too. It's another collaboration beer. That's over at Bear Bottle. They're doing a competition.
I've not been to that space yet, but I hear it's amazing actually. So.
Yeah, I mean, Henhouse, Hermitage, Discretion, all sorts of breweries have used our beer to Alvarado for collaboration beers over the.
And can you speak to because I've read Ken Grossman. If you guys do not know, but you should know who Ken Grossman is. Sierra Nevada, one of the forefathers or godfathers of craft beer, at least in the United States. Can you talk about his involvement in here in Admiral Maltings?
Sure. So Ken Grossman is basically an icon or a mentor to anyone who's in craft beer, if they know what they're talking about, because basically if it weren't for Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, and other than Boston Beer, which I don't put in the same category as Sierra Nevada, they are the largest craft brewery for what that's worth. But what's amazing, size alone isn't necessarily important, but it is indicative of its acceptance. But what's amazing is how cutting edge they do remain. They're constantly experimenting with beers and beer styles and ingredients, not to mention how incredibly cutting edge they are with respect to renewable energy. Their digesters, the methane digesters, whatever they have there, their solar power. They use the recycling of CO2, but they also do estate ales, and they grow barley and grow hops that they hope to use in their estate ales. I think so. This all leads into Ken Grossman's involvement, and he had been he's done over at St. George. They've had a collaborative relationship for spirits, and I guess Ken had been talking probably both with Lance Winters over at St. George, and probably somehow through the UC Davis. I mean, he's both been supportive of the brewing program over there, maybe the agricultural program, and so I had been involved over there. He may have talked to some of the professors there, but for sure with Lance. And he reached out actually to me. He I got an email from him one day, and he had said that I've been interested in malt as long as I've been interested in beer, and he had actually tried to do malt back when he had a homebrew store. Before Sierra Nevada, and he sent me some really humorous little concept, of like turning a Maltomatic, turning a dryer into a malt. You know, I mean, the point being that he's always thought of it, and he actually had drawn up plans to do a malting facility with William Crisp after William Crisp had sold Crisp Maltings to I forget who, not that long ago, and they had put together plans, or they had started to work on plans to do a malting facility. So it is something he's always been involved with, but I guess, you know, with opening the new North Carolina brewery, whatever, you know, he's always getting sidetracked, and so he's a modest investor, like similar to John Martin from Drake's Triple Rock, Jupiter. He's also a modest investor. They pretty much John and Roy, his partner Roy, and then Kent. So that we do have some breweries that decided to get involved, but it was more of a stamp of approval, of an excitement about that possibility, than them coming in and doing it or directing or whatever. But having their support is invaluable.
And you know, I came here on Saturday. There's a line out the door, a lot of foot traffic over here. What does the future hold for this place? I mean, probably just, I mean, this is I can hear people. When I was at a store, and people were like, oh, I just came back from there. Like, people were just so excited, to come here and have this place here. It's really cool to see. I mean,
it's a nice spot.
I mean,
I
beautiful.
think we really lucked out on not lucked out, I mean, we had good people, but it came together, the design, without being just crazy expensive. It was actually a very, very prudent use of resources to get a very interesting place, but that has that, the ethos of what we're bringing back the old to do something new, and we've sort of done that in the Rake here too. A lot of older recycled, repurposed components, not to mention utilizing the raw bones here of a structure that was built by the Navy in 1944 as a dry goods warehouse in the Navy, and now has been repurposed into a malting facility. And so we're just fortunate to have this. I hope it continues to draw a lot of people. Again, it helps offset some of the ridiculously high costs to make malt in an urban center, when we can do a little bit of retail sales here. So we just opened. We haven't even been open a full week.
No.
So we'll see how that goes. It's promising though. It's very promising. I've been very busy.
I'm super excited about what the future holds. You guys, Admiral Maltings in Alameda.
Admiral. There we go.
On the naval base. Check them out. Good food, good beer.
Amazing beer.
Behind you is a great scenery. Just, you can walk around, and I mean, it's a great spot. Congrats to you, much success to you and the team, and Dave and Curtis and everybody involved. And until next time, you guys take care. Peace and love. 100.
All right.